Welcome to Beyond Limits, empowering coaches and entrepreneurs.
I'm Steve Remmert.
And I'm Odile Remmert.
Get ready for a podcast that challenges everything you thought you knew.
We're the founders of the Remmert Method, ready to shake up your mindset.
Break through doubts, fears, and limiting beliefs and ignite your true potential.
Join us for inspiring conversations and strategies you won't hear anywhere else.
This is Beyond Limits, empowering coaches and entrepreneurs.
Subscribe now and get ready to redefine what's possible.
And today's topic is overwhelm.
Yeah, so we have a brain hack for overwhelm. And what we mean by that is that there is something you can do biologically, physiologically, with your brain that will help you to overcome overwhelm so that you won't feel it anymore.
Yeah, so maybe before we dive into that, maybe, just talking a little bit more about overwhelm and, how you might be experiencing it, how we've experienced it, in dealing with that. You want to?
Yeah,
Give us a little
of experience.
I've never gotten overwhelmed, so you're going to have to take no.
So I think that certainly my experience in the past was becoming, I always felt like I was doing a plate spinning act. Like I've got plate spinning here and another one there, and I can't keep up. So for me, I suppose it takes a few different, I've had different kinds of experience. So on one hand, too much on my plate, and the overwhelm came in when I didn't know what to do first. I had trouble prioritizing. It felt like there were fires everywhere. And, if I was going to try and put one out, then the others were going to, and that for me was immensely intense. So having too much to do and not knowing how to, and just not enough time in the day to do it all.
And for those of us that, and that's who we are. And, obviously who, we're, reaching out to, those of us that are running our own businesses, that notion of you're the one person show, you're right. You've got to do it all.
Right. And then you add to that things outside of the business. So, family, friends, social life, health, just running a home, taxes, and there's just so much to it. And it can really, the overwhelm, and I think it's going to be different for different people. I think different people experience overwhelm in different ways. As I say, for me, it was too much on my plate and not enough time, and feeling like I didn't know what to do first.
How did that manifest for you?
I just want to say the second one.
I forget. You always have lists.
So the first was that was overwhelming. And then the second way I experienced overwhelm was having a project that I didn't know what to do with. I didn't know how to make something happen. So, in fact, there's another one. Sorry, I'm adding to it. But it's just, I'm remembering it as I'm talking about it.
Yeah.
So there was too much to do, not knowing how to get started on something or what the next step was. And then the other thing was something feeling beyond my ability. So in other words, where I feel like I am not capable of doing this thing, but I know that I have to do the thing, or that I'm scared to do the thing. So like doing social media and being on camera, having to do a video, having to talk to people. So those were my experiences with overwhelm. How about you? Now you can get a word in.
I think, the situation or the circumstances, similar. And I think that, it's probably common for a lot of people that we're experiencing those kind of things. I think the question I had for you, and, I know that this may be a little bit different for everybody, is how that overwhelm manifests. We use a word like overwhelm, and it's kind of an overarching term or something. It's like everybody knows what overwhelm is. It's like we're probably experiencing it differently. It's probably manifesting differently. And I know that probably the way that I experienced that, or the way that my body experienced that, that I know that I was talking about it, I think in yesterday, that sometimes when I was in that place of overwhelm, I would just have a shutdown.
Yes.
And
Frozen.
that feeling of freeze, feeling paralyzed, like I don't know what to do in the moment, that kind of thing. And then there were other times when it almost felt like I was in this kind of a mania, and it's just like you're going all the time, and you're not even 100% sure that what you're doing.
That's right.
It didn't feel like flow. It felt like, like a panic, almost like that running away kind of state or feeling, that you're trying to, or you're on a hamster wheel or something like that.
Right. So like, I know that for me, I would, depending on which of those three overwhelms I was experiencing, but the one where I've got too much on my plate, I think the biggest thing was extreme anxiety and feeling trapped. I think that for me, that it was a feeling of feeling trapped because I had to achieve all these things and I couldn't.
Yeah.
And it was like, there's no way that I am going to be able to achieve this, but I have to achieve it. And that was really intense for me. And then the other thing was, what was the other way not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
And then I would often avoid. So I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. I would try and ignore it and do things I did know how to do. But that thing I didn't know how to do was still then. It still had to be done. And that just amped up the feelings of anxiety and being trapped again.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people are in a position where they are stuck.
Yeah.
And so they either take no action or, like you were saying, they're doing busy work for the sake of doing something, but it's not the actual strategy or strategic action that a person needs to take. And then, another kind of tendency I had at certain times when it all got too much was to just give up. I just go, okay, well, I'm not going to do anything then. It's that kind of, I don't know what to do, so I'm not going to do anything.
It was interesting. This is just a connection that I'm having right now, but I recognize myself that overwhelm feeling that was created, in whatever I was trying to do, some of the coping techniques that I was using, in what you were just saying, busy work. And it was like, you could end up getting lost in emails, or you could end up getting lost in social media, scrolling or whatever, and somehow that in the back of your mind that you feel like, oh, this is important work, or this is, but it's not actually getting the work done, which is adding to the feeling of overwhelm. Yeah,
that's right. And also distractions, of course.
Yeah, distractions.
It's easy to get distracted, and and I definitely experienced that as well. So shall we move on to the brain hack?
Well, yes, but I think that it's also kind of important first, perhaps, to talk a little bit about what is happening in the brain. That's actually, what is this overwhelm? Okay, I guess is kind of where I thought we could go with that.
So the reason the brain hack we're going to give you works is because when we feel overwhelm and any other negative emotion, the stress chemicals in our system are the same stress chemicals that are produced when we're in physical danger. And I know we talk about this a lot, but I think one can't stress it too much. So adrenaline and cortisol are included in those chemicals. And in addition to redirecting blood from the organs to the extremities and a whole lot of other things in the body, one of the effects of those stress chemicals is to cause blood to drain from the prefrontal cortex of the brain, which is where we do our cognitive thinking. So strategizing, thinking clearly, problem solving, comprehending, all of those kinds of communication, creativity, all of those higher levels of thinking happen in that part of the brain. And the stress chemicals that are produced when we're feeling any negative emotion, and I would say, Overwhelm is one of the biggest ones. Those chemicals cause blood to drain from the part of the brain that we need in order to be able to do the thing. So, using my example of having too much on my plate, as I was feeling the negative emotion, the overwhelm, I don't know what to do, I don't know what to prioritize, I've got too much, there's not enough time, all of that. As I was thinking those things and stress chemicals were being pumped into my system, blood was draining from the very part of the brain that I needed to be able to work out what I needed to do, what to prioritize, how to get things done within the period of time I had, what I could, what do you call it when you give someone else to do?
Delegate.
Delegate, thank you. What I could delegate and alternative solutions, creativity, all of that. As I was in that position, that part of my brain was shutting down because blood was draining from it to the back of the brain for survival. And so it's like trying to drive, it's like pressing the accelerator when you've still got the handbrake on.
Yeah.
Or spinning your wheels in the mud.
Yeah, I know for me, in going and having that experience, as you were talking about that, I just kind of imagined that little circle that is running on your computer when it's buffering, that it's like, when you don't have access to your prefrontal cortex, it's just like, I'm just kind of waiting.
When you're in survival mode.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that brings blood back to the prefrontal cortex is lowering the level of stress chemicals, including adrenaline and cortisol, and the brain triggering the production of feel-good chemicals like endorphins, serotonin, and oxytocin. And as that chemical shift happens, so as stress chemicals lower and feel-good chemicals start entering your system, the blood returns. That allows blood to return to the prefrontal cortex from the back of the brain where it was for survival. And then you're able to think clearly again. And a great example of this, I always feel, is if you've ever been triggered by somebody in a situation and later you think of all the things you could have said or should have said, and you're like, I should have said that, or I could have said that. Let us know if you're familiar with that. I know I am definitely, and I'm sure you are as well.
Yeah, that's that feeling of blood returning. It's like,
and that's the thing, is the reason for that is that blood has returned to that part of your brain, and now you have access to it. And now you can think, I could have. Now you can think strategically again, and that's because afterwards, the level of stress chemicals started to come down. So, knowing that, this is, like you've mentioned before, this is working with the machinery of the brain. And that's why it's so effective as well. It's also pretty new, this information in neuroscience. So this is why we're so determined to get this information out there, because people don't know this for the most part.
Right.
So the answer, the brain hack, and the earlier you catch it, the easier it is to do this. When you start to feel overwhelmed, walk away in the first step. So what you can do, what I do, is imagine you've got a big pause button in your head and you're going to press pause. You'll come back to it. So the key here is not feeling like you're ignoring it or distracting yourself or anything. This is a strategic process with a physical effect. So that's the other thing. The other reason I love what we do is that it's based in physiology. It's not intangible, like things to do with the mind can often be intangible to grasp. This is physiology. So you imagine in your brain, pressing pause and walk away and go and get a cup of tea or go for a walk. Now, what you do when you walk away is switch your focus in whatever way you can, and the aim is to feel good, is to do something that feels good in order to bring blood back to that part of your brain. So you could listen to a song you love, listen to music you love. You could go for a walk listening to an uplifting podcast or audiobook. You can play a game, read a book, speak to a friend who makes you laugh, watch funny videos, do whatever. And the key to this is you won't want to do it. you won't want to do it because the brain is fixated on the so-called danger. So the reason this can be difficult to do at first, and the reason we want to explain the physiology behind it, is because when you're in the middle of those feelings, stress chemicals are stronger than feel-good chemicals because they're for survival. So they're designed to get and keep our attention on the danger, the bear, so we don't get just killed by the bear while we're looking at the pretty flowers or the sunset or whatever. So that's why when you're feeling that overwhelm, you're going to probably have a compulsion to continue pushing yourself, to continue focusing on this problem. And that is where the skill comes in. You're developing that bit of skill there to remind yourself, I'm just pressing pause. I'm not pressing stop.
Yeah. And if I can interject, I think that another key point of this, is recognizing, and, because this activity or this exercise may not be anything that's completely novel. I mean, it's like there are plenty of people out there, say, take a break, whatever,
Right.
that kind of thing. But oftentimes I know that what I did in the past was, I would walk away from it, but the monkeys are still swinging around, and you're still focusing on the problem, and you never really get away from the neurochemicals that are being what's the word?
Triggered?
Yeah,
Produced?
you're produced while you're in that state. So having an understanding, and this is what we're talking about here, having an understanding of how the machinery is working in the background is what's key here. Understanding that I'm intentionally walking away from this so that I can change my focus and change my neurochemical state. Understanding I'm engaging in this activity intentionally to change my neurochemistry, and I think that I think what we need to kind of move to now is understanding that you also want to plan and practice this at a time before you get triggered. So think about actually putting a plan in place. So I'm thinking right now like a fire prevention plan or a fire drill. You want to practice the fire drill
Right.
before there's an actual fire. So we want to know what we're actually going to do when we start to feel triggered or overwhelmed.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so I wanted to also just expand on this brain hack to say. So the idea is, and as Steve says, it's doing it with that knowledge and intention of I am going to do this thing in order to bring the cognitive thinking part of my brain back online so that I can then come back to whatever this is that's overwhelming me with the ability to use that part of my brain. Now, as I said, you won't feel like it, but do it anyway with, as Steve's suggestion of with that awareness and that understanding and practicing it when you don't need it. So all of that. And you do whatever it is until you feel good, however long that takes. And if one thing doesn't work, do another thing. The aim here is not to just do something that feels good, like that advice of walk away and come back. That is hit and miss. And also, as you were pointing out, if you walk away and you're still thinking about it, that's not going to work. So here's the key. Let's say you watch some funny videos. You're going to attempt to bring that part of your brain back online by watching some funny videos. Now, as you are watching the videos, your brain will keep wanting to go to the danger. So it's like, if you've got a dog and it wants to chase a squirrel, right? By saying to the dog, come to heel, and then, walking away with it, that doesn't make the dog doesn't just go, oh, fair enough, and then do it, right? The dog has this compulsion to chase the thing, the squirrel. So you have to keep saying to the dog, come on, come to heel. You have to keep correcting it. And the unconscious part of the brain is the same. It cannot use logic or reason. So your conscious mind knows, okay, I'm going to watch these videos, or I'm going to do this thing to feel better, and then I'll come back to the thing. But the unconscious part of your brain still thinks that's a bear. So the key is to, as you are doing, let's say you're watching funny videos and your brain keeps going, but what about that? This is not going to work. Well, how is this going to solve the problem? All of those things are bound to happen. All those thoughts are bound to come. The answer is to answer it in the moment. So as your brain goes, oh, but what about that? Answer it with, it's okay. I'm going to come back to that. I'm just bringing cognitive thinking part of my brain back online. Keep answering that. Repetition, consistency, just like you would keep calling the dog to heel. So it's okay. Tell yourself, it's okay. I'll come back to that. You may even want to write it down if that helps. I'll come back to it, just bringing the cognitive thinking part, this part of my brain back online, and then I will get back to it. Okay, so that's one piece. The second piece here is, if the thing you're doing isn't helping, do something else. So let's say you're watching funny videos and you still feel that nervousness or that fear, or any negative feelings, and your brain won't stop thinking about it. Then go for a walk and listen to an audio book or a podcast, or play a game. If that doesn't work, play a game. If that doesn't work, do some other physical exercise. If that doesn't work, listen to music. And it may be a different thing each time that works. So that's really important to know, because I didn't realize that in the beginning, that if one thing doesn't work, then try something else. And let's say listening to music worked, the next time you listen to music and that doesn't work, and then you think, oh, it doesn't work. No, just try something else. Then go back to going for a walk. So it's really important to be reassuring yourself. This is all physiological, and something will work as long as you are answering in the moment. Now, the other thing I really wanted to point out here that I think is so helpful is that it only takes 60 to 90 seconds for your brain and body to switch from stress chemicals to those feel-good chemicals, if you're keeping your focus off the negative and on the positive for just that minute and a half. And that's key to remember, because I know some people go, well, I did it for 90 seconds or I did it for 2 minutes and it didn't work. And that's because you were doing it, and then your brain, so every time your brain goes to the danger, the so-called danger, or you have those thoughts of worry, that restarts that clock. So it's 60 seconds or 90 seconds from there. So you keep restarting the clock, but the more you do it, and as I say, try different things, you'll know that the prefrontal cortex of your brain, the cognitive thinking part of your brain, is back online when you're feeling good. So that's what you're waiting for. You wait when I feel good now go back to the thing, and with the understanding that you now have access to a part of your brain that you did not have access to the last time you were looking at this thing that needs change or needs doing, that you felt overwhelmed by, and then allow yourself to be open to, you'll be able to think of things you hadn't thought of before, see it in a different light, and so on.
Yeah. Another thing that I think I want to add here, and I know that we probably need to be wrapping up here before too long, but understanding that what we've kind of laid out here is this hack is really kind of like triage in the moment when you're dealing with overwhelm. And really the other bit that I feel is important here to understand or to know, or another part of the machinery that's operating in the background, is what is at the core or the foundation of this overwhelm in the first place.
That's right.
So just because these situations, I'm experiencing these situations in my life, in my business, working with a client, whatever you might be feeling the overwhelm in the moment, is also understanding how that overwhelm got created. Now, this is a big topic, and something that we go into quite a bit more in the work that we do, but it's also it's recognizing that my reaction, your reaction to this situation is coming from previous references.
Right. Not everybody has the same. So not everyone is overwhelmed by the same things.
Absolutely.
Or even in the same way.
The situation itself doesn't have the ability to cause the overwhelm. The overwhelm is coming from what we're carrying around inside, what we've experienced.
Yeah. And so we do have a free webinar that goes into depth about what is actually causing the overwhelm in the first place in different people. So you know how some people can have so much going on and they almost thrive on it.
Oh yeah,
it doesn't stress them out. They're like, oh yeah, and they in their case, they're not producing those stress chemicals that take that part of their brain offline, and they're able to just, cope. And then others may become overwhelmed. I mean, I remember at times being overwhelmed by such simple things like, I don't know what to wear. Literally.
Yeah.
Going, and then feeling panicky about what to wear today. So, really little things like that. And the cause of overwhelm in each person, as Steve says, is coming from another part of the brain. So what we call the GPS coordinates and the references that we have, and everybody has different ones. So the free webinar, you can register for that. As I say, it's free. That'll take you through in depth what exactly it is in your brain that is causing the overwhelm in the first place and how to change it. So we changed ours, so we're no longer overwhelmed, and it'll take you through that as well. Thanks for tuning in to Beyond Limits, Empowering Coaches and Entrepreneurs.
We hope you found this episode enlightening, inspiring, and helpful.
And if you did, please do consider leaving us a 5-star review so that others can benefit as well.
Subscribe for more inspiration and strategies to fuel your success.
For more information on working with us, visit our website,
theremmertmethod.com. That's Remmert, Remmert, theremmertmethod.com.
Sending you love and encouragement. Until next time.